Hey guys, here is Natalia, and I'm inviting everybody to join the new sprint, Thought Chunking and Pausing in English. You're welcome to join the community in all the forthcoming sprints in our community as well. What are sprints? They are short-term creative challenges that let you focus on just one skill. We want to do just one exercise as many times as necessary, and we're going to make sure that there is a lot of variety so that you can learn to apply the skill that you think you know or that you're going to learn in a variety of different contexts. I thought I'll demonstrate why thought chunking and pausing are such important things to consider. When non-native speakers start learning about their English rhythm, the first thing that they want to master is the pause. We can work with any content, and I decided to choose two sources today. I just went to the main page of Forbes. Since many people learn English to improve their business skills, business communication skills, let's just choose this one. Actually, I like the quote here. Let's take that as well. So we're going to work with three different types of content. One is going to be very short. It's just a quote. Then let's open this article. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace is on a mission to legalize cannabis, and Amazon just got behind her. Well, we can take the title as well, and we're probably going to, take this paragraph here, including the title, actually. Let's copy the title, and I'm copying it so that you guys can see what will happen to it. So this is Forbes. The first one was just a quote. And you know what? I decided to go to the website of the Cheesecake Factory. And what if we click on careers? What are we going to see? Create delicious, memorable experiences with unforgettable people. Let's get that. I like that tagline. So Cheesecake Factory. When I announced the sprint, I told you that we're going to work with all types of content: children's books, business books, quotes, news, breaking news, fiction, nonfiction, blogs, scientific articles, anything, because the same rule applies everywhere. Many people here, as I said, are looking for a new job at an international company. So let's check this out. Restaurant management. What vacancies are open and how do people describe vacancies? When I look at this, I like these testimonials. Well, actually, there are quite many here. I'm not sure we can copy them. Yeah, but this is good practice material as well. You can just read those. I love that our mission at the Cheesecake Factory is to always go the extra mile to make every guest happy. This is a great word combination, to go the extra mile, to make, and pay attention to the article, to go the extra mile here. All right, so let's copy that. It's not bad as well. A lot of people need language like this for their resumes. Lead with purpose and passion. And let's open restaurant manager. Let's open jobs. And let's see what people are actually looking for. We are not going to read bullet points. We need sentences, because if you want to practice the rhythm of English, you want to work with sentences, because this doesn't really help us much. These are just bullet points. They're not complete sentences. Hiring immediately, restaurant manager. But we can work with this. And trust me, this is more than enough. See how much text we got now? Okay. I'm going to mark it in different colors so that you see what we're doing. And you can tell that these are different types of content. And Cheesecake Factory it happened to be the largest piece of text. And we're going to work with each one separately. Thought chunking and pausing. So first things first. What is a pause, right? And what is a thought chunk? A thought chunk is a meaningful piece of information, right? It's a thought. Usually it's a group of words that comprise one thought. One sentence can have one idea, but one sentence can also express two or more ideas. When we see a group of words that constitute one idea, we got to say this thought so that it makes sense, and then we got to pause so that we can introduce the next idea, and those two ideas don't get messed up. Let's look at this sentence. Humans cannot live sustainably without a positive relationship with the world around them. If I read it this way, nobody's going to understand what I'm saying. But if I read it this way, humans cannot live sustainably without a positive relationship with the world around them. That makes a little bit more sense. I can even do a better job. Humans cannot live sustainably without a positive relationship with the world around them. I see two ideas here. Look at this. Humans cannot live sustainably. We want to pause here. And you can indicate a pause with two lines like that. I like to say that this is a short pause and this is a longer pause. We usually need a longer pause when we're very confident that that's the end of one idea and that's going to be the beginning of the next idea. We always pause at the end of the sentence. Many non-native speakers and students forget to do that. They forget to pause at the end of the sentence, and they forget to go down. They forget to land the plane as they finish their sentences. So very often it sounds like they're not done yet with the world around them, and they go up. Some people call it up talk, but I think up talk is more the case with native speakers. Non-native speakers just don't understand that they have to go down at the end of the sentence. They don't understand the effect that it makes. All right, now we have identified two thought chunks. How can you check yourself? How can you make sure that you have found the right thought chunk? Humans cannot live sustainably. We have a subject, humans, and we have a verb, cannot do what? Cannot live sustainably. Usually, well, when you see this divide line, let's do it this way. When you see this divide line between two chunks, to check yourself, you can ask yourself, where does this word belong? The last word in this chunk, sustainably. Does it belong to live sustainably, or does it belong to sustainably without? Sustainably without a positive leadership? Doesn't really make sense. But cannot live sustainably, that makes more sense. And where does without belong? Without a positive relationship. You see? Without a positive relationship. That makes more sense. And all these words together, this group of words, makes one thought chunk. It's one thought without a positive relationship with the world around them. Now, where do we pause? Of course, we want to pause here. So I hope now you see that thought chunking and pauses, they're connected. There's no way they're disconnected because we want to pause at the end of one idea to introduce the beginning of the next idea. Some people will say this is a very primitive explanation, but I like to keep things simple and I like to explain things in a very simple way to myself. You can, if you're a linguist, if you're an English teacher, you can go and read a lot of academic papers on thought chunking and intonations and pauses. You can do all that. But I believe that students who just want to speak in a more natural way and students who want to understand English speech better, who are not linguists, who don't have that academic background, they don't really need those terms, but they need to grasp the concept. And the concept is simple. Every sentence communicates either one or more than one ideas. And if we have more than one ideas, we gotta pause to let native speakers hear that there's more than one idea here. There are two or maybe three. That's the easiest level here. So I'm going to read it one more time and I'm going to pause here. Humans cannot live sustainably without a positive relationship with the world around them. If the pause is long, and the pause got to be long here, between two ideas, you can pause for 2, 3, 5 seconds. It's not too long. People will wait. Let's try to do the same with a different type of content. Let's go to this Forbes headline and the first sentence of that article. My tip, before you start approaching, when you approach this task and before you start making decisions on where you want to pause, I recommend that you read this text out loud. Try reading it out loud. And usually, in 99% of the cases, if you're reading new content and you read it out loud, you're probably going to mess up and you're not going to understand what it is that you have just read. And this is very good because this will make you stop and look at it again, and you will want to figure out what it is that you're reading, and you will want to figure out where the pause must be. So, Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace is on a mission to legalize cannabis, and Amazon just got behind her. Just a tip for you. A comma in the English language, do we have a comma here? We have a comma here. A comma in the English language always means a pause. You got to pause. And a dash, what we see here, is a dramatic pause. So you can definitely pause for a longer period of time here. Now so if this is already helping us, right? So we know that this is a pause and it's a long one. So we want to pause here. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Well, that makes one, like this is, they all these four words belong together. We can't really pause in between those words. So when it comes to pausing, you have to understand that there is no one universal rule that tells you where is the right place to pause. However, there are many wrong places to pause. So pausing somewhere here, but that would be the wrong place to pause, because Republican Congresswoman is one word combination. These two words belong together. This would be the wrong place to pause because you're ruining this word combination. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and this is one long subject. Usually we don't really pause between a subject and a verb. So I wouldn't pause here. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace is on a mission to legalize cannabis. This is one thought chunk because it is one idea. We understand what this idea is about. She is on a mission to legalize cannabis. If you struggle understanding if this is one idea or many, and especially in cases where subjects or verbs are so complex and consist of many words, try to rephrase what you read and try to explain it to yourself in your own words. For example, what I did just now, she's on a mission to legalize cannabis, or this woman is on a mission to legalize cannabis. The sentence becomes shorter and it's easier to see if this is one idea or more than one. And Amazon just got behind her. I would pause here, like this pause would be here for emphasis. If you want to attract attention to whatever you're saying, you want to pause either before the important word or after the important word. So this pause is going to be here for emphasis if you want to emphasize the word Amazon. And Amazon just got behind her, but Amazon also needs to be higher in pitch and a bit louder. But this is totally optional. What you want to do is you want to pause here and you want to go down. So let's try to read one more time. This is clearly one idea. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace is on a mission to legalize cannabis. Pause. And Amazon just got behind her. Pause. That's it. Now my sentence sounds very clear. So I only paused twice. I want to make sure that I do not pause anywhere in between these words so that I don't change the meaning of this idea, of this thought chunk. Let's move on. Again, I'm going to read it out loud to see if I get it, because if I don't get it, I will hear it. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill to end federal pot prohibition and says legalization is an issue that unites America, just like apple pie. So I got confused, I got lost a little bit here, because Americans, if you think that Americans means people, American people, then this is already confusing if you decide that this is one word combination and Americans, because it doesn't make any sense. So we want to understand where, this is a good example, it's a little bit more complicated, where one idea ends and the next idea begins. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced, like this is one long subject. The freshman representative from South Carolina did what? Introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill. Let's go to Forbes and look at the punctuation. How did it actually look? Yeah. And Americans for Prosperity, you see, Americans is capitalized, prosperity is capitalized. So this is the name of this bill, of this document. Introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill. This is one word combination. That's the title of this bill. That's why we gotta read it together. He introduced what? And we have a very complex object. He introduced and I would like make a mini pause here because if I say an Americans, I am immediately connecting an Americans, which is not correct. So I want to make sure that this sounds as the name of this document, and it's distinct, and all these words come together and they sound together. The freshman representative from South Carolina, and again, you can do this. So I just intuitively, I want to do this because it's a long and complex sentence. And if I want to read it to somebody who wants to understand me, or if I want those people to understand me when I speak, I naturally want to pause here to help them understand the connection between the words and the thought chunks here. Whenever you see a long subject like this one, you can introduce a mini pause here. Make sure that it's not too long and you don't go down, because if I say the freshman representative from South Carolina and I go down, that sounds like the end of the sentence. Instead, you want to glide forward and let your listeners know that that's not the end, something else is coming, but we got to pause here to introduce the next word combination. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill, and here, when I'm done introducing or announcing that document, I want to introduce a short pause again. But, and I would say this is the first thought chunk. Let's try to rephrase it in our own words. This representative from South Carolina, this person introduced a document, right? So just to make it very simple, and it's easier to see the structure of the sentence this way. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill. You see, now it sounds clearer. And here I can pause for a longer period of time. So I hope that by now you get it. We can introduce, we definitely need a pause at the end of one thought chunk, but we may need a pause for emphasis. Like we could do it here. And Amazon, a short pause, just got behind her. And we may also need a pause to help our listeners understand the connections between word combinations, between complex subjects and predicates. Like the verb here is very complex. Not the verb here. We have a long object and we have a complex subject. So we're looking at 3 different ways to use a pause. Now let's move on to the next thought chunk. To end federal pot prohibition. By the way, do you know how to pronounce this word? Let's check it again. I keep forgetting the right way to pronounce that word. The U.S. version.
Prohibition. Prohibition.
Prohibition. So we hear an H. When I was at the university, they would just get mad at us if we would pronounce the H. They told us that is the absolute correct pronunciation.
Prohibition. Prohibition.
It's funny that I can hear the H here as well, but we were taught to say prohibition, and now I hear that it's not quite correct.
Prohibition.
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 And prohibition, that is also possible in the UK variant. What I like to do is whenever I come across such tricky words, I like to check them in various dictionaries.
Prohibition.
You see, there's no H here.
Prohibition.
And that's also American.
Prohibition.
Prohibition. Both options are acceptable. We can also go to Macmillan Dictionary just to be on the safe side.
Prohibition.
Prohibition. I can hear a slight H here as well. So it's a lower rule that stops people from doing something. That's interesting. So we can read it. You can read it with or without the H. It's your call. To end federal pot prohibition. And yeah, actually, you see, this is the end of one idea already. This is one thought chunk. So this guy introduced a document to end pot prohibition, to end something, to stop something. That's one idea. And says legalization is an issue that unites America. We see a dash, which is a dramatic pause. And I would say that's the end of another thought chunk here, because just like apple pie, it complements this idea, but I would say it's a different thought chunk, and we definitely need to pause because we see a dash, and a dash always indicates a long pause. Let's try to read it now and see if it makes sense if we read it together with the pauses. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced an American for... I'm going to start over. The freshman representative from South Carolina introduced an Americans for Prosperity endorsed bill to end federal pot prohibition and says legalization is an issue that unites America, just like apple pie. And I go down here. Again, you see that these pauses here indicate the end of one thought chunk and the beginning of the next thought chunk. Now let's look at this text from the Cheesecake Factory.